Hey there, it's another beautiful day. Let's watch some stuff. Some people do stupid things. Don't do stupid things. You are about to hear my opinion. Do your own research.
Those old sayings are so true. Your ears are itching, someone's talking about you. Thunderstorms during winter, snowstorm within 10 days. Just got 12 inches of snow. And if your hand itches, you're going to get something. If your crotch itches, you already got it.
Oh, yeah, probably. We're going to look into some old wives' tales today. Some of these I've heard, some of these you may have heard, and some of them I never even knew were a thing. But let's check them out.
Have you heard the old wives' tale that if you put a layer of this on the bottom of your feet and cover it up with socks, it'll help you stop coughing? My husband has had a horrific cough for about a week now. He did go to the doctor, he is on medicine, but the medicine hasn't really helped his cough. You know how it is, once you lay down, you start coughing, everything just kind of settles in. This is just the generic brand, but you can get the Vicks brand. What you do is you put a pretty thick layer on the bottom of your foot. You want to do it right before you go to bed. You don't want to be up walking around because it feels kind of gross. Put that thick layer on the bottom of your foot, put the socks on over it, and lay down. In about 5 minutes, he stopped coughing. It's worked every time we've tried it. It's not a perfect sign. It does come back eventually. Every once in a while he'll wake up here and there, but it has been a miracle for the past 2 nights.
I've actually never heard that you put Vicks Vapor Rub on your feet to help you with a cough. Now, my grandfather was weird, and he actually would take a glob of it and eat it. I don't recommend you do that. I don't think that's safe, but I guess the older folks did that.
So we've been lied to our entire lives about coffee being able to stunt the growth of children. I told somebody not to give my kids no coffee because it would stunt their growth. I got a 7-year-old daughter and a 5-year-old son. I looked it up after I said it. I was wrong. As many latte lovers can anecdotally attest, this old wives' tales is just that, a myth. There isn't any scientific medical evidence that coffee in particular or caffeine in general stunts growth. According to Dr. Kim, caffeine does not meaningfully impact how tall a child gets. And what you mean by meaningfully? Meaningfully to who? Because hold on now. In my mind, kids always already got enough energy. See what I'm saying? They don't need no boosters. They don't need nothing else to be able to subsidize and or supplement the energy they already got. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, why would you do that? Why? Lastly, according to the children's doctors at Johns Hopkins Hospital, they said good nutrition is always important to reach the maximum height potential. That's if you're trying to worry about your kids reaching their main height. Some people are already, you feel me, heightly challenged. Shout out to y'all. Education is elevation.
Y'all know how much I love my coffee. I love caffeine. It's one of my favorite things. And I was told as a child, don't drink coffee, it'll stunt your growth. My grandmother told me, my mom told me, and it was probably because they didn't want us having a little more extra energy because we already had enough. And it turns out it's completely false. Coffee has nothing to do with how tall you are. It's all about your genetic makeup.
Have you guys ever heard the saying that says, if your hand's itchy, don't scratch it, because that means money's coming in? And I think it has to be your right hand, right? The left hand's like the evil one, allegedly. Okay, so can someone tell me when am I supposed to get this money? Because my hand's been itchy for 2 days. And I'm over here trying not to scratch it, you know, just doing like putting it on a surface so it stops itching. But it's like, when am I getting this money? Like, when can I actually scratch my hand? Also, there's another one that says, if your nose is itchy, si te pica la nariz, it means that you're going to get into a fight. Well, let me tell you something. My nose has been itchy. And I need to know, is this a hypothetical fight that I'm having in my own brain? I have a lot of those. Or is it like a fight, an argument? Am I going to get into an argument, or am I going to get down with somebody? Like, these are the things that I need to know. What does this mean, and when is this going to happen? Because I'm over here thinking, oh, money, money, money. When is the money getting? Because no me ha llegado, I haven't gotten the money. You know, and it's been itching. It's been really itching. And the nose too. It's been itching. It's like, I want to scratch it, but then they're like, don't scratch it, because if you scratch, you get into a fight. Well, maybe I need to get into a fight.
I've heard the one about your hands, and I never knew which one it was. One of them meant you're going to get money, and one of them means you're going to lose money, and you shouldn't scratch one of them and then scratch the other one because you don't want to lose money. But I never know which ones they are. If my hand itches, I just scratch it. The nose one I've never heard before. That's interesting. I've also heard that women, you shouldn't put your purse on the ground. Like, it shouldn't touch the ground because you're going to lose money. And I put my purse wherever I want to put my purse because I don't believe that stuff. As far as her situation is concerned, I wonder which started first. Was it the hand itching or the nose itching? because maybe she is having an internal battle with whether or not she should scratch her hand.
One thing about us people in the South is we love us a good old wives' tale. Is there any scientific evidence to prove them? No, there is not. Am I a college-educated woman that believes in them? Yes, I absolutely do. I don't want to go pissing off the ancestors. Sorry. Thinking of getting your child a haircut? Are they under 12 months old? Because if they are, no. You do not cut a baby's hair unless they're at least a year old. Never you mind that they're growing a literal Billy Ray Cyrus mullet. You just don't do it. What would happen? I have absolutely no idea, but you just don't do it. With summer coming up, I thought I'd give you guys a gentle reminder. Don't go in the water until at least 30 minutes after you've eaten. Why? I'm sorry, why? Because I said so. Because my mama said so. Because her mama said so. That's just a law. Did I just see you two holding hands split the light pole? Put it in reverse, Terry. Put it in reverse. Everybody knows you don't split the pole. You both go around on the same side. Did I just hear you say you haven't gotten sick this year? Well, you better knock on wood. Really. Knock on some wood. Fine, don't knock on wood. Get sick for all I care. Please tell me you didn't eat the end pieces of the bread before you finished the middle. Okay. When you're not able to make ends meet, you remember this moment. Because you did it to yourself. You've asked for it. If we have any foggy mornings in August, get ready to buy your snow sleds. Because for every foggy morning in August, we're going to have a snow day. Please tell me I'm not the only one. This list could go on and on and on.
There was a whole lot in there. I'm going to try to unpack it as much as I can. I know the whole stomach thing when you eat, don't go in the pool for 30 minutes, right? It's fine. You can go ahead and do that. As far as cutting your hair, the baby's hair, I was told the same thing. Wait until they're a year old to cut their hair. Why? We don't know. The splitting the pole. Yes, absolutely. I remember. And then I was told, oh my goodness, you got to go back. And then when you grab hands again, to undo it, you have to say bread and butter. Why? Don't know. And for the bread one, I had never heard that one. You want to make ends meet, so you don't eat the heels first so that the ends can meet. Otherwise, it's going to mess up your finances. You're not going to be able to make ends meet. I'd never heard that before. I thought it was just you don't eat the heels because they keep the rest of the bread moist.
It thundered this morning in January, which is pretty unusual, and it got me thinking about some old wives' tales that have to do with weather. Well, according to the Farmer's Almanac, if it thunders in January, then 7 days later it will snow. And I looked at our weather forecast, and would you look at there, 50% chance of snow on Monday, 7 days from today. We'll see if it holds true. I just realized that's the day I'm supposed to fly to Florida, so hopefully that doesn't mess up my flight. I've also heard that if it thunders in December, then you're going to have a freeze in April, which would be an unusually late freeze for us here. And that did come true a couple of years ago here in North Texas. One of my personal favorites has to do with plants, and that is that when the Texas sage blooms, it actually predicts rain. And I've seen this one come true more times than I could count. Another one that the old timers use around this part of the world is that you shouldn't plant your tender crops until after the mesquite trees have put their leaves on. They think that the mesquite trees will not put out leaves until the danger of the last freeze has passed. However, I have seen this one be not true before because we have had freezes after the mesquite trees were fully leafed out.
I can't think of a single weather wives' tale. Wait, no, I'm kidding. I remember my grandmother used to say that when one of her knees was hurting, that meant it was going to rain. That's the only one that I know of. I have also, as far as plants, I have heard, which is silly, that if a woman is on her cycle, she shouldn't touch any of the plants because it will cause them to no longer live.
Another note, have y'all heard you're not supposed to wash clothes on New Year's Day? Because evidently you wash somebody right out of your life, and I didn't know that like for years, and my sister-in-law told me. And she told me like right after I had just like done all of our laundry on one of the New Year's days. And do you know, no kidding, that was the very year that I got my leg amputated. So like we didn't wash a whole person out of our life. We just washed my right lower leg out of our life. Yeah. So there's your little story, you know. Yeah.
Well, that certainly is an awful situation, and I can't help but think, did she wash like a load of her own britches or something? Just saying. That's an interesting one.
Have any of y'all ever heard of the old wives' tale? If you see something on the side of the road and it's from a wreck, don't pick it up. Well, I never had heard that saying before, but honey, it is true. Let me tell you what happened to my husband the other day. About a month and a half ago, my son was in a really bad car accident. My son is okay. Praise God. But where my son wrecked, the man knows my husband, and he called him to come and fix the bridge. And like the arch that where my son wrecked and hit the tree, it tore it all down. So my husband goes over there to look at the property and the bridge and stuff, and just to see what needs to be done and let him know. As he walks the property, he finds our son's hat. Well, my husband goes to pick up the hat. Stream Bean tells him, don't pick that up. Hadn't you ever heard of that old wives' tale? Proceeds to tell my husband about it. My husband just laughed at him and said, I don't believe in that stuff. Throws my son's hat in his truck. When they get done walking the property and they leave, they get about 5 minutes down the road and someone rear ends my husband. I don't know about y'all, but I kind of believe in that old wives' tale, don't you? Anybody else ever heard of this?
Interestingly enough, I have heard that one. I remember there was things on the road and I was like, oh, what's that? And my dad's like, don't worry about it. You don't want to pick that up. It's from somebody else's accident. I didn't know that there was a possibility that it can cause you to have an accident. But that's crazy.
So I'm having a chat with a friend. We're just chopping it up, talking, or whatever the case may be. And they tell me about a random rule that they have. And it's something I never heard of before that I thought was a little odd. So we began discussing it, and they suggested that I bring the topic here to see if anybody else had heard it. So like I say, I'm having a chat with my friend, and they say that they never take a shower in a thunderstorm. So like I said, I never heard that before. And I was like, really? Why not? What's the theory behind that? And their theory was that lightning can travel through plumbing, so you run the risk of being electrocuted or struck by lightning if you're showering during a thunderstorm. And again, for the third time, I've never heard that before. That was unique or interesting to me. And I was like, is that even true? Number one. And if it is true, how rare would that be? Like, I can't imagine. I've never heard of someone getting electrocuted while they were showering, or struck by lightning while they were showering. Actually, I've never heard of people getting electrocuted while they shower either, but I'm pretty sure it does happen somewhere, somehow. But again, that's just a random rule that they follow. I don't know if it's an old wives' tale. I don't know if it's a superstition, or just a random rule that they follow. But I never heard it before. So they suggested I bring it here. Has anybody else heard of it?
All right, sound off. Have you ever heard that one? I actually have. My grandmother said she never takes a shower in the thunderstorms because of that very reason. She said a lot of interesting things. Like when you cut your hair, you're supposed to do it on a full moon and it'll make it grow faster. Okay.
Stephanie, I got to tell you this story, what happened one time. My mom and I were sitting down watching television, and I was 9 months pregnant. And all of a sudden, we heard a baby cry. And I looked at my mother, and she looked at me, and I said, Mom, did you hear that baby cry? And she said, yes. And you know what that means? And I said, no. She says, it means that if you don't tell anybody, your baby could be a genius. So don't ever tell anybody what you and I heard right now. And I never did. And as it turns out, when I think about it, my daughter, I wouldn't say she's a genius, but she's brilliant.
Oh.
So if you ever have a friend and they hear their baby cry in their tummy,
Right.
keep your mouth shut because you could have a genius.
Okay.
We'll see.
So herein lies the problem. She told her mother. So does that mean that the baby wasn't a genius? Because you're not supposed to tell anybody, right? Oh, here's another thing. It's not really a wives' tale. It was pretty much just a marketing ploy. There was the whole baby Mozart thing where, oh, if you put headphones on your stomach and you let your baby listen to Mozart, it's going to make them smarter. That's actually been disproven. I know it's not a wives' tale. It's just a marketing ploy. But it's interesting.
Do you still have your baby teeth? I don't know where the tradition started where you put your teeth under the pillow and Mr. Sandman comes and takes it away, leaving you money, but in the Philippines, that's not what you do. I was told to flush my teeth down the toilet. The reason behind that is that if rats somehow get to your baby teeth and start chewing it up, then the decay will also occur in your teeth, the teeth that's still attached to your mouth. Is this old wives' tale proving a point about stem cells? If I take my baby teeth and have it chewed up by a rat, will it affect my teeth that's still attached to me, even though they're not attached to each other? Probably. Called quantum entanglement. These old wives' tales may have some truth behind them. Like my grandma would always tell me not to eat the seeds of the fruits because it would plant itself in my stomach and leaves would come out of my ears. Obviously, that's not true because I eat the fruit seeds and that's the healthiest part of the fruit. So old wives' tales could be false flag information, intentionally given to women because they gossip and that's how it spreads. Another one my mom would tell me is not to make a face because then the bad wind would hit it and your face would freeze in that position. That's a secret to restructuring our body. We all know that water has memory, and what if you can position yourself in a certain way for a certain amount of time, like 5 minutes, will it stay that way? You strike a pose, flexing your muscles and keep them that way? It's called biokinesis. It's a lazy way of working out, which I'm going to try while listening to my frequencies for muscle toning.
Dude, I like the way that she went with those. That was super cool. The whole stem cell thing with your baby teeth getting eaten. Here we have the tooth fairy. We don't have any rats eating your teeth, stories that we tell our children. But as far as like the eating seeds, yeah, I remember that. Don't eat the seeds. You're going to grow a tree. Never happened. Never happened. And then if you keep making that face, it's going to stay that way. That never happened either, but I do like the way that she went with those. All right, let's continue on with our Gladio series.
Those ministers are on need-to-know basis over there.
Yes, we're not going to inform everybody. And Switzerland is a neutral country, and at the very same time, in 1990, so that's the same time that the Berlin Wall crumbles and where Saddam Hussein invades Kuwait, so, a lot of political turmoil at the time. At that time, we have a Swiss secret army, which is also uncovered. P26 is the name. The Gladio keyword was only for Italy. In Switzerland, it was called P26.
Other names.
And in Belgium, it was called SDR8. So, people can't remember names, but in Germany, it was called Stay Behind.
Stay behind.
Stay behind. That is the military term because these armies were equipped with weapons, with explosives, with arms caches in the woods, hidden, and with communication equipment. So that Andreotti explained it like that. He said, in case of a Soviet invasion of Western Europe, if Italy was occupied by the Red Army or Germany was occupied or Belgium or France, because you had the secret army also in France, in Spain, in Portugal, in Greece, in Turkey, in Denmark, in Norway, in Sweden and Finland, they are neutral countries, and in Austria and other neutral countries. So it was all over Western Europe. And NATO said, on the first day they said, we never, engaged in guerrilla warfare. We never did that. And on the next day they had to come forward because Prime Minister was saying, okay, I have the documents, and now NATO comes and says we're not involved. And then NATO spokesman comes again and says, okay, what we said yesterday was wrong, and today we can't tell you anything. Top secret. So, a very stupid public relations campaign. And the French Mitterrand, who was the president of France, he said, no, la grande nation, la France, on n'était pas dans ce réseau gladio, so we were not part of this secret network. And then Andreotti, you know, who was facing a lot of criticism, he says, oh, at the last meeting, there's a secret meeting, it's called the Allied Clandestine Committee. At the last meeting, coordinated by NATO in Brussels, the French were also there. And then, you know, Mitterrand sort of losing face, he said, we don't have it. And then Andreotti says, yeah, the French were in the last meeting. How can you say you're not part of it? And so the French defense minister, Chevènement, you know, the president wouldn't go again. He then sends his defense minister and says, okay, you sort it out. And the defense minister comes forward and says, okay, you know, we had a secret army.
Why do you think so many people have a hard time trusting the government? Because they're like, no, we don't have any super secret operations, no secret armies. And then they come out a couple of days later and they're like, oh, by the way, yeah, we totally do. Yeah, that instills a lot of distrust. We'll carry on with this in the next episode. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me. And thanks for taking this little detour. I wanted to try something a little bit different. I know it's not the normal conspiracy stuff we usually talk about, but old wives' tales, you know, they impact us a lot. And if you haven't already, please hit that like button and consider subscribing. Then come on back, because we're going to watch some new stuff. I'll say different things. And it's going to be fantastic. Until then, have a wonderful day.